How far now? We're dealing with Nigeria's favorite Yankee, Ugoboy signing in. We're here on Put In Work TV. Let's do this.
Ugoboy, welcome to Put In Work TV.
My guy.
We have enjoyed watching your journey and growth as an artist and creator in the New England music scene and really want to hear more about your story. Our focus is allowing our guests to tell their stories front and center without judgment or opinion. Let's dive in. How did it all begin?
Well, as a young Ugoboy, like when I first got that name, I was maybe 3 or 4 years old. But like it really started like in the church choir. You know, my dad, he was one of the drummers and one of the choir masters at the time. So we always sat in the front of the church. So like the Sonics was something that 7 days of the week was being embedded in my head. So I think the love for music started there, but my pursuit didn't start until maybe I got to university, you know. So I really played basketball. That was my first love of anything, really. And even at that point, I was just like super analytical of music, like the way that hip hop, Hot New Hip Hop, the way their website works. I might as well have had my own. The way I break down every new project from whoever it was, even if I didn't listen to them. That was just how much I love music, you know, to a point where I put up lyrics up on the wall, like as a athlete, you know, playing basketball. So it was kind of, I'd walk around like in my own head as if I was an artist. You know, I don't know if you did that growing up, but I would like pretend like I was signed to like G Unit and walk around like I was like 50 Cent's main star at the time, you know, and just like, it was weird, but like that was, I would do stuff like that. Then eventually, you know, things happened, and I started making music. I was in school, in college. I found out there was a studio in the library, and you know, the rest was really history. All of a sudden, I would start skipping classes, and I'll go to the library, but I would be recording, and then they had a weird schedule where they would only let you be in there for like an hour, hour and a half, and it's like you're just getting into the funk of it. So eventually, that's when I started investing in my own equipment and having my own little setup in my dorm. But I was rapping at the time. I wasn't even doing Afro beats yet. It was, you know, trap music like Future 2016 time. So you already know, you know, what I was listening to. But it was like Future, Cousin Stiz. Cousin Stiz was actually like one of the biggest like musical influences. And when I met him, I had to tell him straight up. I was like, bro, you don't know me. We not even in the same lanes no more, but like you don't know what you did for my music, bro. Like there was shit that he said in his songs that's like, shit, if I could do it, you could do it too, probably better. And that shit struck a nerve in me. And like even now, I'd be like, when I hear that, I'm like, that's huge. That's huge. So like, you know, that's really where it started. And I was rapping for a while, and then I just wanted to like try different things because I felt like the music I was making was only telling 10% of my story. Like again, it was the trap music era. It was like Future, Migos, Meek Mill. Like that's, you know. So the content that I was making was, you know, very consistent with that. But that's not all my story had to tell. And I wanted to try different music, and I felt like I had to step out of the space to do it because it wouldn't be received. And I know like artists say like, oh, I'm an artist, I don't want to be boxed in as a rapper or this, but I really felt that where like I was doing things that like my friends wouldn't. They were like, yo bro, just spit, stop singing. And I'm like, no, I couldn't sing. Like naturally I'm not a singer. I taught myself how to use my voice to it being like appeasable to the, you know, to people. But like I'm not a singer. I'm not a singer. Like my guys, they'll definitely tell you like, bro, like just rap. And I was just like, no, I don't want to. And now it's a thing where it's like when I want to like rap, or if I want to like start spitting more of my Afro beats, they're like, God, just you know, gotta think of the babes, bro. Like, you know, they need more melodies for the babes. So it was just, it's kind of funny how full circle, you know, it's become. So
Yeah. Talk to me about where you grew up.
yeah, bro. So Austin, born and raised, I guess, to a general perspective, but like to be specific, for those who are from New England, I'm from Randolph, Massachusetts, South Shore. You know what I mean? I say it with pride. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of light coming from that city, that town. You know, it's been that way for a while. But I'm from Randolph. You know, how did I grow up? I would say I grew up geographically like right outside the mix. Like my neighborhood was quiet. You know, and I have to ride my bike into the mix, where it be the park or where everybody would be at. And growing up, I kind of got the treatment of the athlete that you expect to make it out. So you give them the G pass, but you don't want them in the mix of anything going on. You know, so that's kind of that was the role I played. You know, from middle school through high school, and then when I got to college, and then I decided I didn't want to play basketball. Everybody was like, "What are you doing?" You know, and funny enough, you know, I don't know. It was a weird space. I definitely went through depression because of that decision, and like feeling like I let myself and a lot of people down, because that was everybody got, you know, whether it was hoop dreams or football or something. That was my thing, you know. A couple bad injuries will change the story, but so I had to like find a new way to express myself, because that was the one space that was accepted by everybody as to how I could be Ugo in his purest, rawest, unadulterated self. It was okay to, when I get upset, or if we won, be super, you know, excited and stuff. Like, so basketball was that space for me where I could, you know, I could dominate. There was so much to learn from basketball. Being a team player, it correlated to how I make music now. You know, so it's like, yeah, it's a team sport, but I'm the best. You know, I want to be the best. All my guys, they want to be the best too, but I'm the best. You know what I'm saying? That's how I wake up, and that's how I keep going at it. And that's where music is an art form, but it's also a sport, because the ones around you, if they're, you know, as sharp as blades, they're supposed to be pushing you to get better every single time. Every time your man drops something, you're supposed to be happy for him, but it's supposed to push you to do better than him, respectfully, not in a way that's like you're competing with him, but you guys are building a force together. Whereas now you guys go out into the world under this umbrella that you guys stand for, and it's stronger because every individual piece is stronger. But the music thing, it's like, it's a individual team sport. You get what I'm saying? On the front face, you'll see one name usually, or a couple names, but there might be 50 people that played a hand into that being what it is, you know. So that's it's like the parallels of sports and entertainment is crazy. It's crazy. And even like now running a label or being in charge of a collective, it's thinking about it as if you're like Jerry Buss. Like, how are we gonna sell these tickets when it's showtime? Like, who's gonna be the one that's gonna be selling the tickets? And you got to put some emphasis into that person, and it's not personal. Now the music business is definitely, I learned a lot at the front door that I had to make a decision. It was like, yo, it's all glitz and glamour and it looks good, but this is some cutthroat shit. Like, people die about this shit, people's lives get fucked over for this shit, people lose out on friendships, relationships. Like this is not a joke. Do you really want to do this? You know, I went to South by Southwest 2018, and I went with a couple of artists. We all went down there, you know, obviously to push our stuff. And to make a long story short, this is when I first got exposed to how like the industry could be fucked up for the worst. And there was a promoter out there like putting out fake shows. Like, so he was doing this one Young Thug show. He made like 18 racks off of one show, off of a fake show. And you know, he got one of my buddies. He scammed one of my buddies, and I'm watching how beat up he was about it because he put a lot of money into getting onto that show. But it didn't happen to me. You know, for me the experience was a lot smoother. It actually went really well. Performed everything I paid for. I sold, you know, my CDs out there. Like, I was out there, like, you know. But I seen what it did to him. Like, he went home early, you know. And I'm sitting there with my man's like, you know, just talking about it, like, yo, bro, like, it can fuck you up like that, you know what I mean? And it's bound to. So it's like, you have a choice. You a wolf, or you're a sheep, you know? And it's kind of black and white, because there are good people that have the power of a wolf, but you still have to be a wolf. And being that wolf, where you're in that position of power, you make that decision as to you're going to do the morally just thing or not, but you have to be in a position of power to even make that decision. And I'd rather be in power, rather be powerless and be a good person that's powerless. You get what I'm saying? So it was just a thing where I'm like, I made that decision well before anything developed musically. I'm like, I know how I feel about my sound and where it's going to take me, but before we get there, are you ready for what's going to happen when it gets there? Because it's going to get there. The getting there is kind of easy, like, you know, but staying there and understanding how it'll affect you, I'm ready. You know, it's just not easy, but it's like, I'm ready. You know, I've been through a lot leading up to this point, even during the moment where it's like, it's what it has to be.
Talk to me about how you got your name.
Ugoboy. So Ugo is my name. Ugochukwu. Igbo translation. Ugo means eagle. Chukwu means God. So it means God's eagle, but the actual like definition of it means like God's treasure, God's pride, God. You know what I mean? Like almost like a mascot of what God is supposed to stand for. You know, being made in the image of God. So that's the name that my father gave me. So growing up, I was the only boy, 4 sisters, you feel me, and my mom, my aunt, my grandmother, and that was just my nickname as a young kid. Ugo boy, yeah, Ugo boy, come. So like that was just like something I've been called since I was like really small. It started with the women in my house and then kind of sprinkled out to like the community around it, you know, so to speak. But where I decided now to answer to it as an artist, it was so when I was rapping, I used to go by the name Don Cruzio. It's another story, but when I was like going through the brand change, I'm like, I want to get back to my true self. I don't want there to be a separation of what I'm giving to the world and who I am. I guess when I was making that decision, and then the part of the music where it's like it has to be enjoyable, you know. So I want to be in a space where that joy that I got when I was younger, that free, like you don't have to really worry about nothing. That blissfulness is what I want to get from my music and what I want to give to people. You know, I think by nature I'm a happy, energetic person, like kind of quiet, but like definitely a happy, you know, positive person. You know what I mean? So I wanted that to be, you know, the feeling that people get when they hear my music, when they hear me, when they feel me, they feel like, you know, that they just alive, like, you know, they feel lively, they feel good when, you know, when they hear Ugoboy, and that's what I wanted. So it made sense for me. It made the utmost sense, you know. So yeah.
So what is your discography made up of right now as Ugoboy?
I have my debut project I put out in 2020, Water No Enemy. I had a few singles leading up to that, and I've had a couple since. January was my most recent release. I dropped a single called One Night. Things definitely, you know, I would say there was about maybe a 15-month gap in between the releases, maybe even longer. Long story short, the point I'm getting at, I took that time to really like lock in on my sound and take my time with the music, because I was transitioning from like rapping to now moving to the Afro and trying to blend it and find myself in it. So I spent a lot of time, like 2021, just like working, just like spending countless hours in the studio. And you know, I don't want to say I feel bad, but like I worked with a lot of producers. We made a lot of music, and I know they're thinking like, yo, when is this coming out? And some of the songs were really therapeutic, where it was really just meant for me to get like my shit off in terms of what I was going through. Some of them were to get better, just on the idea that I'm coming to put my hours in, you know. But I think that was a battle in 2021, was figuring out which direction I'm gonna go, because there was so much music being made, and I knew that I wanted to outdo myself. From the last project, Water No Enemy, I got a lot of good feedback, and I think there was like minimal push behind it, minimal backing, and I told myself like this time around, like you need backing, you know. So if it means it's gonna take a little bit longer to put this stuff out, just so it's doing what it's supposed to do, then I think that's the that's the route we had to take, and that's the way it went. You know, I tried my best to to keep people busy in my hiatus, but I'm glad everything worked out, because when I came back and I dropped again, it was definitely like, okay, I understand why you made us wait so long, but yeah, it's even in that whole process, I made a lot of great music, and I learned a lot about myself, my sound, and formulas and arrangements with music and stuff like that. So I'm excited, and I'm not gonna hold back as much. I feel like that was kind of like selfish and messed up on my end, for a lot of reasons, because I learned music, not just my music, but music is therapeutic, right? So I've been through a lot in my life. I had a pretty bad injury almost 10 years ago, blew out my knee. And to this day, I still remember like the 3 or 4 projects that I was listening to while I was rehabbing that got me through that summer, that got me through that year. So that type of power that music has, the idea that you could have that power and not be using it to impact somebody, like that's selfish. That's like watching a Spider-Man movie and like, Times Square is on fire and he's just chilling with his feet up. Like, like, aren't you not Peter Parker? But I was going through a lot too during that time period. So like, I mean, I guess I have my excuses, but like not really. But COVID happened to everybody. But I was blessed with a newborn during COVID. So balancing that was definitely something that kept me, I won't say distracted, but my attention was on other things, respectfully. So, yeah.
So you're a father?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Talk to me about what you try to give your listeners when they listen to your music. Like, what do you try to give your audience?
Okay, so there's certain foods that what they call aphrodisiacs. So I would like to think of my music as an aphrodisiac that's cultivated and created to trigger endorphins in people and trigger emotions that's gonna tense you up for the right reasons. When Ugo, when you hear that tag, let's see Ugo, like you just expect to move. You're gonna move. You know what I mean? And that's just off of the sonics. That's just off of the rhythms of it. But when now listening to lyrics into it, now you're just like, okay, it's not just a vibe. Like he's actually there's usually a message at the end of the bottle. My music is like liquor. It's like the best Casamigos you could find for those who like Casamigos. It's the best bottle you could find, the most aged, reposado tequila you could find. And at the very bottom of that bottle, there's usually some deep underlying message that I may have to give. But in the meantime, enjoy. We're all here to enjoy the soft life. So, that's what I want people listening to my music.
What has your process creating music been like for you?
It's evolved over the years. I can say this currently, it depends. If I made the beat, then that might stretch out the process a little bit longer. But let's just say hypothetically the beat's made. The beat's made. Somebody sent it to me. I'm vibing to it. I like the beat. So now going to the studio. I prefer to be like in an environment, like a creative environment. I could cook it up on the fly and work on it while I'm on the bus or on the plane, but like I'd rather be in it. There's something about the energy of being in it that speeds up the creative juices for me. But nonetheless, the way I like to do it, plug the beat in and hit record and just vibe out and you find melodies. When the feeling is feeling the way it's supposed to, we could get the song done in 1 or 2 takes in terms of at least the bass layer, and then you start to add background vocals and ad-libs and stuff. But I would say the process is like we want to figure out what's gonna stick, what's gonna latch. So intro hook, and once I find the hook, you space out where the hook's supposed to be, and then fill in the in between. But in terms of like, it really depends on the type of beat, my mood. Like if I'm having a good day, I might want brighter beats than darker ones. Or if someone's pissing me off, then I need. And then the content as to which I'm talking about, it may not be directly what got me to that point, but it's an expression of those emotions. And sometimes I won't say I exaggerate, but I like put a little bit more emphasis to make a point where it's like sometimes things can get blurred as to how you're feeling, why you're feeling that way, what caused it, or what you're gonna do about it. So I like to allow the music to be that space, to pour out that emotion. Therapy might be good for people. I've never been, but music's been mine. I'm good. I'm here. I'm happy. So yeah.
Talk to me about how the music changed your life.
Oh man. As a consumer or as a creator?
Overall, in general.
Music has, since an early age, given me a sense of identity. Whereas I don't know myself as a 6-year-old, and I guess what I'm allowed to listen to an extent, that I find myself within it, I find my space within it. But it's like, okay, being a young kid that's being exposed to Dear Mama, Bob Marley, and then Igbo High Life. So like my parents, the thing is with music, it was like my parents, they played a wide variety of sounds. My dad listened to everything from gospel music to death row, to everything in between. My mom, she would listen to Whitney Houston, ABBA, Michael Jackson. So it was just so many different like voices, faces, and what they had to say almost became programmed into how I felt about myself. And so like on one end, like again, like listening to the Tupacs of the world, where it's like the idea of like taking pride in being black, like those type of like messages, and like understanding that like, yo, no matter how like messed up whatever it is you're dealing with, it like you're special. Those type of messages where it's like I learned a lot, from music. So music was, again, there was an identity element to it where I understood more about myself through faces that I reckoned with, but it also gave me a space to express myself. Because like I said, being the only boy out of 5 kids, I wasn't always allowed to go outside, but I'm not always going to engage with my sisters. They like dolls, I like Power Rangers, So there was a time where drawing became my way to express myself. I wasn't always allowed to like fight for the remote for the TV. Sometimes you gotta take the L, but I don't want to watch what they watching. So I go in my room and I would be drawing. I'll draw whatever I see. To this day, I still draw. Like, it's funny, like pieces of artwork that I made 10 years ago, is making me money today. So it's just a thing where music, it gave me the power to be like, yo, these hands that you have, this voice that you have, and these ideas, it's powerful. So I think it pulls me back to that same point. Music gave me identity. Yeah, it did a lot to enhance identity, and like it did a lot to show me what's going on, not only around, but like inside. It's questions that you ask yourself as a man, as a black man in this country, that like it wasn't a question you asked out loud until you heard someone else talk about it, type of thing, where it's like, does it make sense that I'm afraid in this setting? But yeah, I'm standing next to these people. I know I have the ability to beat every one of their asses and shit, but like I'm afraid. Like this is weird. Like, I don't belong here, type of shit. Is that weird? So it's like you come across people that talk about their life and all spectrums of it, then it's like, oh, okay. It's like having a big brother or a big sister, So music is dope, especially, and that's the danger of music too, because now you get the wrong kid listening to the wrong artist, and it's not the artist's fault, but at the same time, you hold a power that's, once you start getting into the million streams and you got millions of people tuning in monthly, it has power, you know what I mean? So sometimes there is toxins in music where they're just selling you fuck shit, But I don't know. Yeah.
Talk to me about what are your intentions with your career and what are some of the guiding forces for those?
I want, with my career, I want to be able, I feel like everybody said, oh, I want to be able to impact somebody. Like, yeah, but I feel like I was put on this earth to have not only a voice, but to be able to change things. And I feel like certain actions that have taken in place in my life outside of music have shown where, like, this tool that, like, I could pull people in with, like, their ears, by their ears. I could pull them in by their ears. There's a lot more that there is to be learned and understood, So I feel like I was put on this earth to lead, and music was my calling card to get the attention to do what I was put here to do in other spectrums. If that makes sense, because even now as an artist now, I've been able to help, other artists get to higher heights, even beyond where I may sit with you today, because I think that was just my calling. I've always been a guinea pig or a trailblazer where I would be the first of my friends to do something, and I might not do it the best, but I'll do it and be able to come back and be like, yo, this is how it works. This is what it was. So I feel like I was put on this earth with this voice looking the way I do to attract a certain attention at a large capacity. And yes, I feel like the music itself I enjoy so much where I could just be doing it forever and I love it. But what comes of the impact, and I was talking to a few buddies yesterday about this, like the impact that artist has can be looked at as more superior than their content. Someone asked me, like, yo, who's your favorite artist, like, of all time, genreless? Like, who's your favorite artist of all time? I said Michael Jackson because it's like, to this day, there hasn't been someone that could walk into a public setting on a regular Tuesday and everybody stops everything that they're doing to go see what that man is wearing, take a picture with him. We want to talk about the music, the impact he's had on other artists for decades later to come. There's nobody better than that, So I just feel like with my music, if I can even get to a third of that type of threshold, to have a third of the attention Michael Jackson had, I feel like I could use that and that power to do a lot of things for the better. Whether it be community building or opportunity building, I just feel like if it wasn't music that I was doing, I could have done a lot of things. I feel like I could have been a lawyer, could have been a politician, probably could have did the basketball thing, but just those things where it's like a powerful public figure, those type of things, I just felt like I was put here to use that for good. And music is an easy way to pull people's attentions. It's just like not every artist gives a fuck to. Yeah, Michael Jackson and his impact worldwide was astronomical. If I could have just a third of that, just be able to reach a third of the amount of people he was able to touch, I'll be in a pretty good space to fulfill this mission. And I feel like I could have done a lot of things. Not to sound like one of those guys, but could have been a politician or a lawyer. And went into banking, but I feel like this lane that I'm in, that God has put me in, was created as such for me, just so I could have the impact. Just this type of lane, okay, I know I'll be able to pull the attention necessary, but what's supposed to be done with it, what's expected of me to be done with it, it's all good things. So just moving in my mission.
Talk to me about Nigeria and why you decided to make the transition to Afrobeat.
Yeah. Nigeria, man. Nigeria's it's messed up right now, but it's a beautiful place. There's just so much so much to be learned from every trip. Both of my parents, you know, are Nigerian. They both came here after high school, you know. So my sisters and I, we spent most of our time here in the U.S. You know, there were some times when I was younger where I'd, you know, go back and forth between the U.S. I'd spend, you know, Christmases or summer times in Nigeria. It got to a point I almost went to school. And I told my dad, no, I'm not going to school in Nigeria, because up until that point, they used Nigeria as like punishment. Like, oh, like if you're messing up in school, like, you know, I'll send you back to Nigeria. You keep fucking up. So one day my dad was sitting with his guy. He's like, Ugo, you want to go to school in Nigeria? I'm like, sitting with my McDonald's. I'm like, Nigeria? No. Why? What did I do? Like, I'm thinking I'm in trouble. I'm like, why? But as I got older, you know, obviously my perspective changed. You know, I was able to go back. It was probably maybe 10 plus years in between my last visit as a youth up until, you know, most recently. And, you know, my whole perspective was so, like, washed completely of Nigeria. Not to say I was, like, ignorant of it or, like, oh, but it was just a thing where it's like, this is actually not just a place I want to visit. I actually want to live here, like, you know. And I've always battled, I think, not with identity, but this concept of being on the fence. You know, being in school here, I was the African kid. I was the African kid that smelled like oil, you know, or the African jokes, you know. So, but now when I go home to them, it's like I'm the Yankee. That's how that nickname came about. I'm the Yankee. So it's like I'm on the outside. Even now, if you want to deep it, where it's like, okay, in the Nigerian community, I'm like the Yankee, but like to the black community, I'm the African. But you know, to the whites, you know, I just felt like I didn't fit in. And even my upbringing, where like I told you, geographically, like we're outside of the mix. We were exposed to a lot of everything, you know what I mean? I had a decent background growing up, you know. So what I was exposed to versus like the setting as to which where I not just wanted to be, but what I, you know, I stood out always. And I was battling with that up until like college, you know, and not much of a sense of identity. You know, everything that you deal with here with the Black Lives Matter and the police killings, where they don't want us here. So I'm like, where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to claim as my own? Who am I? If the land that I'm supposed to be fighting for doesn't want me here, they make that clear every single day, then where am I supposed to go? And I feel bad for people that don't know their roots, because like I'm sure people have those type of questions, and it's like, where am I supposed to go? Where's home? What's home? So I went back home to Nigeria in 2018, and it's like the way things are situated, the way things are set up, especially my dad's side of the family, I was cool. Like, you know, I was living the soft life. I was good, you know, moving with security everywhere we go. We got drivers, like, you know, we're good. So this concept of Nigeria being like a third world, first of all, remove that. Second of all, you own, you know, the way things work in Nigeria is like, it's either the oldest child or the oldest son. It's usually the oldest son that inherits everything. But who's it supposed to go to if you're the only son? So now I had to really realize, like, guy, like, just calm down. Like, you know, like, you like, take a second and realize who you are. Take a second and realize your story, what you come from. And calm down. Because you have a place of your own, a home of your own, you know. My dad's a chief, you know, 4 titles. That in our culture, a different town, like let's say Hyde Park, Boston, every part of Boston has a king, right? And then every king has a conglomerate of chiefs that he respects, that he handpicks, and like, yo, I'm gonna make you a chief in this village. And my dad's a chief in 4 of them, you know. His own village didn't give him a title. That was the last one he got. So I'm cool, you know what I mean? Everything that's going on here in the U.S., I'm like, all right, you don't have to want me here. I'm good where I'll go back there and I'll be good, you know? But that was my naive way of going there. And when I most recently went, now it's like, okay, let's imagine my family is in Boston, but I'm going there to go be in LA. So I'm not going back to that same comfort I just explained to you just now. You're on your own. You know, so when I went most recently, I didn't go back to Imo State, which is where my family's from. I was in Lagos, which is like the mix where the music's at, where everything happened, Afrobeats is happening, and I was on my own, you know what I mean? So now I'm experiencing Nigeria for what it's really worth, not being protected by, you know, family blessings or anything like that. Like taking the bus everywhere, you know, walking places, like Ubering, you know, everywhere, every music opportunity I have, I'm going there dolo by myself. You know, I had one relative out there, but he wasn't really like musically inclined. So everything that I'm doing, I'm on my own, like in a whole new space, you know. And even how I'm talking to you now, you know, Sabi talk the same way in Lagos. You all chop the same, you know, talk the same way, you know, you understand. So it's like that embracing the fence concept became my knight in shining armor. That's my kill. That like I'm good everywhere, you know. I mean, I embrace the fence. That's what I had to survive, you know. I'm in Nigeria, and it's like I know you can see I don't be out here, so they're gonna try to take advantage. So I had to fully embody how life works, how they talk. I had to like dress down, spray less cologne, and all that good shit. But it was like putting my foot down and being like, no, you're not gonna fuck with me. You're not gonna fuck me. You know, I came to this country a business owner, a businessman with with degrees and this shit. Like everything y'all trying to do, y'all don't know I do that too. Y'all don't know I know how to pull a fast one too. How do you think I made it this far? So, Nigeria was dope. I learned a lot about myself, man. Like I learned a lot of good things. I learned a lot of stuff that like I had to check myself. Like, yo, sometimes like you're not as hungry as you think you are, you know, or sometimes you might not be feeling as confident in what you got as you really think you are. Because if you did, then you would have jumped on that move, like you said you would do when the opportunity came. So why didn't you jump on it? I really started checking myself. Where it's like, are you here to sleep in, or you like, we here to network, we here to meet people, we here to work, like, you know. But I put everything in my account to go into Nigeria for that trip, like everything, bro. You know what I mean? Even if it, like, bro, like piecing funds together, like for it to be a thing, and everybody's looking at me. Because the thing is, like, when people come back to Nigeria, they come in December, they come to enjoy, you know, on some like Christmas vibes, vacation. And then even being in Nigeria, everything is inflated, so everybody coming back at that time, you know, they're coming to spend money. And most people that come from the US to go back there, they're seeing Nigeria only from that space. If someone wants to go back, so the idea I was gone for that long, they're like, bro, you must got money, you must be. I'm like, God, I'm not chopping life every day, bro. I swear, like, you know, what I'm chopping these days, it's not the same Christmas they do. So it's like I was actually out there like a local, you know what I mean? Like living there, like just humbly. Like the only money that was spent was towards my music. I was there for 4 months. I spent $800 on Uber. For 4 months, that was my means of transportation everywhere I wanted to go. Unless I was walking or I caught the bus or maybe I catch a ride on a bike. Bro, I spent $800 for 4 months. That's crazy. But if you ask me what I spent on my music while I was out there, on musically inclined expenditures, like now we talking down payment on the house. Like, so it's it was dope, man. And I was forced to get better. That's just like the outer circumference of this shit. But like meeting other creatives in the space, I'm coming across people that work with not only the best people in the industry, but what they're using to do it. Like what they're using to do it is it's crazy. Like they don't have half the tools, half the resources that I'm sitting here allowing to collect dust that they're using to be on top of the charts or on top of it. I'm just like, you're not doing it like you think you are. Like people might toot your back like, yo, you working hard, but I went there and I was like, nah, like, bro, like these niggas is fighting electricity. Like the way this light is shining in my face, there's no way, bro, in Nigeria, like that the interview, like There's no way that the power hasn't have gone out at least once. There's no way, bro. I had studio sessions. We recorded, and like the generator goes off, and they have a backup generator, and the engineers like speeding to save this shit before the whole power goes out. Because when it's gone, it's gone. So it's like it's a different type of trenches when I was recording out there, and there wasn't the way that we have booths, like nice state of the art, bro. We be in somebody's hotel room or somebody's apartment. There'd be like 13 of us in one person's room. There's like 2 chairs, so everybody's crept up on different parts of the bed. Whoever's recording, they'll have the mic. Might put the sock on it, they might not, and they just sitting there with it like they performing. And I'm talking about the guys that you listen to on Afrobeat charts, like Wiz Kid, Davido, Burna Boy, they all record like that. They all record. So it was just a whole like mind fuck. I'm just like, yo, everything how they operate is on a different tilt. Everything how they operate is on a different tilt. You know what I mean? Money's currency everywhere, but their definition of that and how they apply it to life it's a little different. It's a lot more like blunt almost, where like you can't invite me over to like come talk business and like not pay for my meal and my transportation without it being like an insult. I've had business meetings with people where it's like I didn't realize I was supposed to pay for their food and their ride home when they're the one that blew my phone up to meet up. That's weird, right? But it's like like if you need a favor for somebody, like you're paying for that favor, so it's not really even a favor because you have to pay for it to get it. It's just like, I don't know. It was a lot of different little things that I'm just like, okay, you have a small window of time to figure this out and apply, what you learned to what you got going on. So it was, bro, like, I advise anybody, if you're thinking of making a move, taking a leap, even if it's for a period of time, like, put yourself out there. You have to jump off the porch. Like, even if you, like, the porch is the state that you grew up in. It's not your mother's house. You can move out. But the porch is that support system where it's like, that support system is your network system. It's the connections that you made. Those are the ones that's going to save you when, the police got you on the side of the road for 3 hours. Not your cousins on the other side of the country. So that's where, like, I'm proud of myself, man. I definitely, I went in there, like, with my chest out on some, like, I know cards and odds are stacked up against me for what I came here to do, but, like, what I left with and, like, who I left, I'd do it again. I'm gonna do it again. I'm planning on doing it again soon. So it's like I would encourage anybody that, even like, I don't always feel like, oh, leaving your city is the solution for you, and that's another thing. Leaving your city is not always the solution as a creative. That's not the problem. You're the problem. You're the problem. That's something I had to deep too. I'm like, bro, it's not, because of whatever is not going on where you're at as to why you're not where you're at. You're not where you're at because you're not where you're at. I'm sitting there in Nigeria, I'm just like, damn, I'm like, so what's the excuse now? Because it wasn't always going my way all the way through. So it was like, all right, but you said that you moving or putting yourself in this space would be, and I experienced that. I'm not even just talking third person, like, oh, niggas be, no, nigga. I told myself that life would just be different just because of that change. And then when I went there, and there was a couple days that went by and where it's like, shit don't shake unless you're shaking it. I'm like getting frustrated, and it's like, you start to realize it's like, nigga, that's on you. That's on you. So I'm like, that's where I started changing, like, my efforts regardless where I'm at. I'm like, the geography don't really mean much. It do, but it don't. It do, but it don't. To an extent. When it does, then it'll when it matters, it'll matter. You get what I'm saying? Where it's like, okay, now you're getting financial opportunities in another place. You being here, that's where, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, you can still make airwaves from where you're sitting, even like in your mom's basement. And I don't encourage it, but it's not about the location. It's about you. You have to make this shit work, regardless where you're at. You know. I just, yeah.
So put me on about, like, yeah, why did you make the transition? Like, this is a little bit jumping backwards.
Nah.
Yeah, why did you make the transition to Afrobeat music?
Well, I felt stagnant in my sound as a rapper. I felt like I wasn't trying different things. I was definitely putting in the effort. I had a conversation with one of my buddies that I used to like. He used to help me with the music when I was rapping, and I would always send him all my demos. And then there was just one day he just like snapped on me like, "Yo, do something different with your voice." You get what I'm saying? Like try something different. Like the bars is there, everything is there, but it's just like this. And for me, my defense to why it would ever be like this is because I felt like there was a certain image vibe that I had to like uphold in my space that I was trying to carve out in the rap shit, you know what I mean? And I felt like it was starting to get detrimental to my creative encompass. Like I just felt like now, like, yo, you think you're just this. Like I was making trap music and then like, yeah, that was a part of my life at the time to an extent, but not nearly to the extent as to which it would be even championed if I like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, I'm like, we're running out of stuff. I felt myself becoming that artist and start to talk about my friends pack, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, what if like we're only talking about like one topic of life and you have so much more to talk about, but I didn't feel comfortable talking about those other things as Don Cruzio, you know? And I started, so then I kind of like, okay, what do you want to do? What do you want to try? I started trying like, and like mixing different sounds into my rap or rap over different type of beats. And I got my buddy, my close friend Uche Malik, he's the one that really started like dishing me playlists on like the Afro beats. He was like, yo bro, like with what you do, like this you could do this right here, bro. Like, and I just found like, okay, it'll be for the people that I'm selling my music to that listen to me, this would be something completely different, you know, completely different. And I'm like, even if I go in trying to sound like somebody, the way I talk, the way I sound, it's not gonna work to be them. But it's gonna sound good, but it's not gonna be that. And that was the difference. That was the whole new niche that I created. I found my niche, you know, by, you know, sliding over to the Afro side of things. Like I found my space. And yeah, I that's where I started feeling like I don't have to put so much strife into like trying to, you know, it was just like, yo, you making music because it makes you feel good, makes other people feel good, and it's just vibes. And I could unapologetically make music off vibes without feeling like I'm making not backpack, like fast food music, you know.
No, I feel you. That's dope. That transition, you know, and making that leap, and making that choice that you needed to change, you know.
For sure.
Talk to me about what motivates you the most.
I think the idea of a legacy, and my legacy. What did you do with your time here on this earth? And as an artist, it's kind of similar, where it's like, what did you do? You know, now my son's 2. There'll be a point in time where he's gonna be sitting at the same age as me, thinking backwards. And how you keep checkpoints of whoever you're talking about, whether it's movies, sports, entertainment, what that person did is what keeps them relevant in that conversation. So, you know, what keeps me going is like what I'm doing, forget what I've done before even coming to talk to you. What next? What else you got going on? And as long as like your heart is pumping, as a creative, you don't have to be a performing artist, but as an artist, like that artistry doesn't die. Even after you die, it doesn't die. So like there's a continuality in that element, but like how I keep going with it, knowing that like that's still going, is that you could write your story. you can write your story and really be able to, like, when your time is up to move on, is like you have something to offer. You know. So I'm all about, one, enjoying the moment, being in the moment, but also like thinking like bigger picture, like make sure that when people remember you, it's for something, you know. Because you can only be here to defend yourself for so long. Then all you have is your reputation and people that you've been exposed to that could speak on you know, first experience with them, second, you know, whatever the case may be. But you have to leave people with something, to have something for them to talk about. Otherwise, they're gonna say whatever that comes to mind, you know.
So, with that being said, what would you say is the most substantial moment in your career to date as Ugoboy?
That is really a good one. Shit, I feel like that transition of me moving into Afro, I feel like I changed the conversation, especially in New England, for sure, in terms of like when you talk about the talent that comes from the city and the sounds to expect from the city. I would like to say I played a hand in altering that, and I would say that even just being myself, I've seen the impact on like other friends of mine, family members, other artists, and those type of impacts mean more to me than like accolades. I don't know. I can't. I don't know. Have I even, as Ugoboy, I haven't been awarded anything crazy yet. It's coming this year. Yeah. This year is definitely coming. Damn, I'm trying to think. You asked me a really good question. What have I done in response to that? I haven't done much.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
It's okay to say it hasn't happened yet. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
There's all this ahead of us. So I want to transition to where do you see yourself in 5 years? And like, there is an accolade that you're aiming for. What is it?
5 years from now, I do expect to have a Hetty Award, multiple Hetty Awards. Hettys are like the equivalent of the Grammys in Africa. Platinum album, at least. Because I think in 5 years I'll probably drop 1 or 2 albums by then, I would hope. A bunch of EPs, but I would say, alright, 5 years from now, Grammys. At least 1 diamond album. What else? What else do I want in 5 years? Accolades. I want to also produce at least 5 #1 records and 2 of my artists to put out #1 albums as well. So in 5 years, yeah, I definitely, like, the numbers are cool, doing the 1 billion streams and platinum and all that, but being recognized is always a good thing. So I do expect that in the future, but imprint and impact, the same thing I expect for myself, I expect in 5 years now to see that for, some of the guys that I've helped along the way.
Talk to me about your label.
Flourish Forever Group Incorporated. We were founded in 2019. Consists of myself, Uche Malik, Nizzy, Cassio, and a handful of other collectives that play a part that may not be on the front for us as artists, but 2019, that was the beginning of Ugoboy as a recording artist, and I felt even then at that point, I felt like artists, not just myself, it's an individual team sport. So you need that team, regardless who it is, and every artist on the roster needs that focus, that attention, So my intent with the group was to create a space not only for myself but for my guys, and then upon building with that foundation, being able to like spread outwards. The concept with Flourish and Flourishing Forever is that we like to think that our energy is like synonymous with water, and as you know, the same water that you use to shower, wash, and clean things is still very capable of killing you. but we don't recognize water for the hurricanes that it's done. We don't shame it for the the damage that it's done. We still use it to this day, and having that type of impact where you can't hate it, you need it, but it's not perfect, but at the same time it's pure. It's 100% pure, and it's output until altered, filtered, and so that's the type of energy we would like to pour out into the world, and when you pour water on plants, they grow. So we want to continuously grow forever, and let the music that we put out and the impact that we have continuously, flourish the environments that's which they're afflicting. So that's the bigger picture of the brand. That's what we about.
So, are your artists from New England?
Yes.
So tell me, where do you see the New England scene in 5 years?
Oh man, the New England scene in 5 years, I see the rest of the world, not just the U.S., the rest of the world, noticing that there's a trend of high caliber acts. You've heard of the Bias, the Millies, the Joyner Lucases. You've heard of them, but like, don't forget about Van Buren. Don't forget about Clark, Etcha, Uche Malik, YDA, Ugoboy. Like, there's so much talent coming from New England. That's scratching the surface of it. There's so many, and I feel like with the intelligence and talent that comes from New England, the combination, there will be a way that somebody will find out how to infiltrate the situation where now there's a lot more of us on the forefront. And now when you see these billboards, you'll see more and more artists that you check the location where they're from. It's supposed to say Boston. It may not always, but it's supposed to say it, and how I identify, for me, it's like there's a duality in it where it's like I'm representing where I'm from here, but also the space that I hold in Nigeria too. So I'm a global citizen. I like to think of myself like, someone asks me where I'm from Earth, because we all have a home to call our own, but like sometimes it could be more than one, and you can get lost in the sauce and offend people by just claiming one or the other. So I'm a global citizen, and I feel like 5 years from now, Boston will be respected to a level as to one could decide. New York, Atlanta, okay, LA, you're gonna have to throw Boston in there too. And I expect that to happen in the next 5 years. And what I would hope to also happen, I can't say I expect, what I hope, and this is a challenge, that in the next 5 years, that there is not only more creative spaces of our own here in New England for people like ourselves to feel comfortable in expressing and creating and networking, but a larger sense of ownership within the like people of color within this creative community. More black ownership. When we get to my point, more black ownership. I want that for New England these next 5 years. I go to other cities, and that's the only thing that I'll ever say like another city will have. Well, weather.
So what are some things you wish you would have known before you started your journey as Ugoboy?
I wish I would have known that there's the 80-20 rule. I won't even say rule, but I guess there was an 80-20 mentality I had where like if you have a budget, 80% of that was towards creating the content, and the remaining 20 would be to push it. That's kind of how subconsciously, not even on purpose, I would go about things. But like, I wish I had taken that advice seriously at the beginning, because people told me better. Like, you need to invest in your marketing, you need to invest in your promo, and I'm like, yeah. But when it came time to do it, I was just, and the numbers would suffer for it, the reaction that you want, the feedback that you want, that you're expecting for like, and I was selling myself short in the process. I'm putting all this time, all these hours into like recording. Like, if I tell you the type of stories that happen in terms of doing these songs and what I had to go through to get them done, it'd be almost crazy and self-disrespectful to like not put backing or whatever you have towards pushing it forward. And yeah, man, that's really Like, bro, there's so much effort that goes into creating these songs that, like, I have no choice but to put my life into it. It would be, like, irrational. You go this hard to make sure all these pieces come together to create this product, and then you just going, I just put it on SoundCloud. Like, no. No. Nah, man. It's not possible. It's not possible.
What are some things? What is some advice you would have for someone? What advice do you have for someone who's trying to start their journey as an artist right now?
Be open to where you may land in music. And put your hours in. You have to put in your hours to figure out what your niche is, because, like I said, I was rapping for years, and I'm sure it would have worked if I stuck with it, but it would have definitely taken a lot longer to get the marginal amount of attention that it did in finding my niche and finding the space that fits me. So, be open to understanding that there might be a space for you that you didn't expect it. Be open to it and put in your hours, because in the hours you'll find that out, but you'll also get better and grow confident in your abilities because you spent so much time with it. I think people cut themselves short when they don't put their hours in, and then you don't really know what you're capable of, so then now it's hard to move with conviction, because you don't know. You really don't know if you're good enough, but you'll know if you put your hours in. So yeah, it takes 10,000 to master something. Yeah.
Do you have any last words for the people?
Man, Christmas came early this year. I have something special for y'all, so definitely stay tuned. It's been a long journey coming, and I appreciate you guys sharing the space with me today. Be on the lookout, man. I'm telling you, Nigeria's favorite Yankee, passion and palava. It's a whole lot of passion, a whole lot of palava, a whole lot of good music in the midst of that. So I'm excited for the summer, not just for myself, but for everybody in their ears. Like, I got something for y'all. So yeah, much love, man. I appreciate you. I thank you so much for having me, man. Yeah, it's Nigeria's favorite Yankee, Ugoboy, signing out. Hey, much love to PUTINWORKTV for having me. Make sure y'all go like and subscribe. Let's see. Go.